Hey y'all, so I was reading this tweet, right? Someone was like, man invited me on a date to go feed the homeless as a first date. Because I said once a month I go feed the homeless. So his brain told him that this should be a date. If I'm meant to be single forever, I'm okay with that, but please stop sending stupid my way. So I'm gonna be so real with y'all, right? Because it was so many mixed opinions about this. And I'm gonna spit y'all some logic real quick, okay? First of all, you are just talking to someone, yeah? It's not like this is a friend that you've known for a while. This is literally somebody you might have met for the first time, and y'all just been casually either talking on the phone or texting. Y'all have not been on the first date yet. Have not actually spent time together yet. And their concept is to take you on the first date to the homeless shelter. I'm gonna tell you right now, it is a great date idea, but it is not a great first date idea. First of all, when you go on a date, you are supposed to be talking to your date. You're supposed to be getting to know your date and spending time with them. If you are going to the homeless shelter, y'all are not supposed to be spending time together. Y'all are supposed to be focusing on the homeless. Y'all are supposed to be giving back to these people, whether you feeding them, spending time with them, helping out, whatever. The focus is them, okay? The focus is the people who are homeless. And to proceed to be like, oh, we're gonna go on a first date to the homeless is insane, because y'all not going on a date. Y'all are spending time with these people, which is what you're supposed to do when you go to the homeless shelter and volunteer there. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not a date. That is literally you volunteering, which, again, there's nothing wrong with volunteering. There's nothing wrong with going to the homeless shelter. Maybe if y'all had been together for a while, y'all were like, okay, let's go to the homeless shelter for a date. That makes sense, because actually, I'm not gonna lie, for a date is crazy. For a date is crazy, and the main reason why I say that is because I really thought about this. It would be insane to be like,
oh, as a first date, I'm gonna take my person to the homeless shelter. We gonna feed the homeless, right?
Y'all not even talking to each other for the most part. And if y'all are, that's insane. Again, to know each other in front of some people who are down on their luck. Could you imagine you up there scooping a bowl of chili into a homeless person bowl, and you like, so what's your favorite color? I know that sounds irrational or like weird, but you're supposed to be getting to know this person. How are you talking to them and you're supposed to be focusing on the homeless people, making sure they're good, smiling at them, asking them how they're doing, telling them, I hope this food is good, warms you up, I hope you enjoy this, or talking with them. It's like, there's no time for y'all at all. And the other thing that got me is, in my mind, it would be insane to be like, oh, let's go to the homeless shelter for a date, and then after you around the homeless, proceed to be like, oh, let's go to a nice restaurant and eat. I'm so sorry, but that sounds absolutely crazy to me, because if it was me, I would not be wanting to go to a restaurant after I just interacted with these homeless people and spent time with them. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that sounds absolutely crazy. And so many people were coming at this girl like, you sound ungrateful.
That seemed like he was a great man.
I'm gonna tell y'all, bro. And I hate to be that person, but it was giving performative to me. Very performative, because again, that's not a good first date. Because y'all not focused on each other at all. There's nothing wrong with giving back, but I would not consider that as a date. If y'all want to do that, that is not y'all first date. That is literally y'all volunteering together. That's not a date. And again, going out after to eat, after you've been being with the homeless, is crazy to me. You just spent time with all these people down on their luck, poor. And now you looking at me like, oh, we've given back. Let's go get something to eat afterwards. Let's go to a fancy restaurant or a restaurant where stuff is $30 a plate. I don't know, bro. It sounds out of touch. For me, it sounds very out of touch. But in my opinion, good first dates vary per person. For male, female, it don't matter. First dates vary per person. I remember last year, somebody had a whole list of places people couldn't go to, like Cheesecake Factory, Red Lobster, or whatever. And I'm not gonna hold you, I still feel like Red Lobster is a great place to go for a date. Specifically because the few times I went to Red Lobster recently with my fiance, nobody was freaking in there. Service was quick, the biscuits was good. The food was good. It's fine. However, I will say, if I had to recommend some places to go on a first date, I could make a whole video, but off the top of my head, I'ma just say go to like a festival where y'all can walk around, eat some good food, talk chit chat, you gauge what stuff they like, music they interested in, y'all could dance, because sometimes some festivals have music, y'all could dance in the street. I recommend going to a local restaurant. It don't gotta be somewhere fancy. Maybe if you know a place or you just looked up a place that's local that has some decent food, you could take them there. Y'all could sit there. Something is different and it's local. You supporting local business, and if the food is good, it's good or whatever. Y'all could be like, oh, we trying something new together while we newly getting to know each other. What's another good first date idea? Movies is absolutely not a good first date idea. Absolutely not. I think that is a horrible first date idea. Bowling potentially can be good, but it really depends on if the person, each party is competitive, because some people don't like losing and some people are sore losers and feel some type of way about it. I feel like just to gauge somebody, going to a cafe can be a great date idea just for initial. If you like, oh, let's go grab some coffee or some bubble tea, and then y'all buy like a pastry or something and eat it, sit there and chat for a little bit, and then maybe y'all like, okay, let's take a walk in the park and sit on a park bench or get to know each other. Go to a book, well, even a bookstore is debatable for it just really depends on the person. Because I remember somebody said that going on a first date for ice cream is crazy and that they weren't children, and I'm like, I don't know, sometimes ice cream places can add up. I think it's cute if you just getting to know somebody initially, but it's very insane to me that people put so much pressure about doing the most on the first date, because to me it's insane to do the most on the first date when you don't know that person. The economy is bad. Why would you expect a man to spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on you alone and they don't know nothing about you for real? To me that makes sense after y'all been together for some months or some years even. It makes sense to splurge on your girl. But to be like, oh, I want to go to Cheesecake Factory, Red Lobster, to me it's crazy, because I'm like, if you like the food, it should be okay. The real concept is conversation. Is it good? Do y'all have chemistry? Do you find them attractive? Do you think it could potentially go somewhere where this could be your future husband? And I feel like people cut themselves short when they do that. I also feel like some people cut themselves short too, for the men at least, when they be expecting something after initial first date. If a woman don't feel comfortable to kiss you, to do anything intimate with you after the first date, that is okay. But don't be expecting, which is another reason why I feel like people should not be like, oh, they need to spend this much money. Some people be thinking they be owed something after they spend that much money. I feel like it's better to go more affordable. And even people sometimes will be like, if they even spend $20 on somebody, they think, ooh, I'm owed something. It's like, no, you supposed to treat people with respect, bro. If you dating, you supposed to be dating, well, I ain't gonna tell people what they supposed to be dating for. But for the majority, I feel like most people are dating to lead to marriage and have kids or whatever, for the most part, depending on your age range. But people be on some other stuff nowadays. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I feel very bad for anybody who in the dating market right now, just because of the way people move. It is some very great people out there, but to hold certain standards for stuff, specifically standards, if you yourself don't buy those things on a regular basis. If you being like Cheesecake Factory isn't ideal, why isn't it? Is it the price range that you got an issue with? Because I'm not gonna lie, sometimes they be giving gold digger when people be on that energy, which can be bad. I remember this YouTuber that I watch, her name is Ostef Cole. She was basically talking about how a lot of people equate financial exchange within relationship, which can be very harmful and bad, where you end up being with somebody you don't like, or somebody that you end up just using, or you end up being in a situation where someone, like I said, someone is like, well, I spent $300 on you, therefore you should give me some box, therefore you should bust it open when we get back to my crib. I'm just saying, bro, I feel like people be forgetting about the initial connection. They don't even be thinking about connection. They always think about, what can I get from that person? And I'm not going to hold you. That way of thinking is going to mess you up a lot of times. I'm not saying date somebody who's just going to take you to McDonald's or Burger King or somewhere. I'm just saying, when you expecting money from somebody that does not know you, you have to be very careful of people like that. And what I mean by I'm saying men have to be careful of women like that, as well as women have to be careful about men who will actually be willing to pay that sometimes, because sometimes those men are horrible men. And from the man's perspective, sometimes men look at women and they like, well, why am I spending all this money on a woman I don't know? On a woman I don't even know if we gonna go anywhere. And I completely understand, because if I was a man, that I would not be spending money on a woman I don't know. Maybe if I had already established a friendship with them at some point and I basically pursued them,
and I would be like, you know what, I'm gonna take you out, girl.
I'm gonna splurge on you, we gonna go out somewhere fancy. That makes sense. But for me to be like, oh, I like the girl off Twitter, and I basically rizzed her up, and I was like, yeah, let's go on a date. And then she upset with me because I don't want to spend $300 on a date. I dodged a bullet. Especially in this economy. It would be different if the economy was different, but it's like a $300, $400 date in this economy, and I'm just meeting you for the first time. People be real focused on using people or seeing what they can get for people, and that's where they get messed up. As a person giving people advice, you gotta change your way of thinking, because if you keep thinking like this, you are not gonna be happy relationship-wise. That just is what it is, unfortunately. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying talk to somebody broke, but it's just like the situation of, I remember it was this TikTok going around. This woman and this guy, they were basically on three-way with this radio station, and this woman was explaining that she went on a date with this guy, and the reason why she didn't want to continue dating him was because he did not splurge on some guacamole. Sounds insane, right? But she proceeded to explain that the reason why she didn't want to date him because of the guacamole was because she felt like he would be cheap in a relationship. He wouldn't be spending money in the relationship. She felt like he did not have the money to afford her. She ended up finding out that he basically did have a great job, did have the money to afford that. It was just he wasn't in the mood to spend $3 on a little container of guacamole, because that does not make sense. And I completely agree, that does not make sense. And she ended up finding out because the radio host asked him what kind of job he had, and he was like, I can't remember what his job was, but he made good money. So the girl proceeded to renege what she said. She was like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I didn't know. And the guy basically was like,
nah, I want to talk to you. It's giving gold digger energy.
And I completely agree with him, because it's like, that's an insane concept to be like, oh, because somebody doesn't spend this amount of money on the first date, it's no chance. And again, sometimes people be cutting off their blessings, bro. And I hate to see it, but I see it a lot. People be cutting off their blessings. I have seen it time and time again where a woman will shut down a guy because he wanted to take her somewhere where he wasn't cashing out a bag. And it's like, in this day and age, babes, money do not grow on trees. And if anything, that's a red flag that you're going to be spending up all his money and y'all going to potentially be in debt. And then you're going to proceed to leave him because you spending money that you don't need to be spending in this bad economy. Again, this is just my personal concept, specifically from what I've actually seen happen with other people. You gotta think long term, and you also gotta think about budgeting and best moves financially so you don't end up homeless on the street or even alone if your goal is to get married and have an actual happy family. Not just to get married. The goal is not just to get married. The goal is to also be happily married. And I feel like that's where people be fucking up. But yeah, what was even the concept? What was I talking about? Do y'all think that being homeless, do y'all think that going to a homeless shelter for a first date is a good first date? And also, do y'all think it's okay to use people you do not know on the first date, whether it is financially to get a meal to eat even though you have no intent to talk to them for real or you don't like them, or from the man's aspect to use them to potentially have an investment for intimacy, physical, in the future? What are y'all thoughts about this in the comments down below? I shared my thoughts. Y'all can share y'all thoughts respectfully in the comments. But yeah, if y'all want to check out my other dating advice videos, y'all can. But I'll be seeing y'all again soon in the future, so stay blessed, stay positive. Bye.